Colleen, why don't you give them the latest here?
All right, here's the latest on the earthquake as we know it. 29 people confirmed dead, at least 14 of them in that one apartment complex in the Northridge area. Hundreds of people, as we have seen, have been hurt in this earthquake all over the Southland today. As many as 15,000 people are homeless. Vicki's been talking to a few, along with Beverly White in the San Fernando Valley area. Power out to at least 60% of the people in our coverage area. Water as well in the San Fernando Valley, northern area especially. Water has been shut off in those areas. They estimate it may be off for days. As well, several main freeways in and out of the Los Angeles area are closed. The I-5, the 10, the 14, and the 118. Chuck.
Okay, 16 hours of coverage. We continue now back out to the Sepulveda Recreation Center and Vicki Vargas.
This one apparently was spared and got its electricity back on much earlier. If indeed the one at Woodley and Sherman Way is open, it got its electricity back on about 6 o'clock.
And I remember you mentioned earlier, you talked to a guy who said he had only had about a quarter of a tank left in his car. Well, a quarter of a tank, you can drive outside the area and get gasoline at your convenience, but I guess it's that whole human nature psychology thing. You see the line and you don't have a full tank, you start thinking the worst, preparing for the worst.
You get that, and then you get the sense that people don't want to get very far from their home. The home may have been beaten up very badly by the earthquake and or the aftershocks. The family and friends are very close. We get into this spatial problem that we all have when we are in an earthquake, because the firmament under our feet is supposed to be firm. And that's what really messes with us psychologically, is because it starts to move and we get very disoriented, not only physically but psychologically. And I think a lot of people didn't want to go very far from home.
All right, Chris, thanks very much. We appreciate the good news there out at the gas station. Let's also give you some information that has come across the wires here regarding Los Angeles County employees. If you work for the county, you are instructed to report to work, your normal location, normal time, tomorrow morning, or whenever your shift starts, unless you are notified by an official from your department. That is for all LA County employees.
This is Northridge Hospital. You see the red lights on top of one of the roofs there. That's where the helicopter pad is and so forth. Now what we're going to do, we're going to zoom in tight. Now this picture is going to bounce around a little bit on you, so we're asking you to bear with us. But what we're going to do is just sort of move around. If we can move the helicopter around just a little bit. If you look out into the courtyard here, you will see a large group of people. A lot of people are in the courtyard surrounded by the buildings here. They're not inside the hospital. We don't exactly know what's going on, but a lot of people are outside of the hospital, out into the courtyard there. We're going to kind of swing around to give you a little bit better perspective of this. A lot of the people, this is obviously was one of the places that was swamped earlier, right after the quake, when a lot of people came here for emergency treatment. And now, from what we can tell, there are a large number of people, I'd say anyway, 3 dozen people anyway, out in the courtyard there, just sort of milling around. We don't know if they're there because they don't want to go inside and perhaps for fear of another earthquake, or they're there for some other reason, but there are a large group of people there just outside of the hospital itself. Now we're going to kind of zoom out with the camera here and give you a wide shot, give you some idea as to what's going on tonight. Bob, if you'll back off from that picture there. You're in the, what you're looking at now, I believe, actually will be the Chatsworth area as we kind of pass through this. Again, there is sporadic lighting here, not much, just a little bit of lighting. And the large groups of lighting that you'll see there, that's actually the LA Times publishing over there, that one grouping of large lights there. Most of the lights that you see are from companies such as the LA Times, for instance, that are generating their own lights. Now we're looking over through the Northridge area, and if you'll pan up, Bob, there, that's over into the Granada Hills area. And all of this pretty much is without power. And then as we sort of tilt a little bit more to the right, we'll kind of move the helicopter over here. Now we're sort of moving through the Van Nuys area down into Reseda, and you'll start to see a lot more lights. The Sherman Oaks area is still a little bit sporadic, a little bit iffy. Most of that area, power has been returned. There's still some areas, some isolated spots there that have been left dark. As we move a little bit more over to Balboa Park, that area there still is dark. And then, of course, Woodland Hills up in that area is dark as well. That gives you some idea as to what it's like here. There is power slowly returning still, but there are large groups of people out here that are still without any power at all. John, Christine?
Or maybe she is still alive under all that debris and rubble. Firefighters are not ruling out that they can still pull people alive from this wreckage. They have the search and rescue dogs in there, and as I mentioned, some very sensitive equipment in which they are basically like a telescope lowering it into the rubble, trying to see if they can see anything or hear anything. It is going to be a very long evening, but again, the numbers we can give you now: 14 confirmed dead, 9 have definitely been rescued. All of the other people that lived on the second and third floors here have been long gone. They are fine, very shaken up, but it is just an unbelievable scene here. And directly in front of me, right across the street on Reseda Boulevard, an apartment complex completely intact. Sometimes it just doesn't make any sense.
Dave, earlier in the day, while there was still daylight, we could see from our camera position out on the street a lot of people, many of whom were residents of that apartment building, basically standing out in the street almost in a state of shock, disbelief.
Ձեզ համար ինչ էր եղել ձեր ապարտմանի մեջը?
Մեր ապարտմանը հիմնականում պատերն է փլվել հիմա։
The walls have collapsed in their apartment. That it is impossible to live in the apartment, that all the walls have collapsed and they cannot live in it. They're very unsafe, and apparently the whole building is unsafe.
But your family is safe? Very good. We're glad about that. Now, Mayor, at the shelter right now, how many people would you guess you have here, and they're continuing to filter in as we stand here?
What I'm told, there are about 300 families, or 300 people, not families, that are here. There's an overcrowding.
The area is unsafe where the fire is burning. It's totally collapsed. There's a 12-foot garage underneath that is at about the 4-foot level. So where the fire is burning, it's burning to the east.
Well, many folks are feeling tremendous pain tonight as they deal with the Southland's latest disaster. For one woman, however, the pain is particularly excruciating because she cannot find her mother and she is fearing the worst. Our Michelle Holden has that story.
This young woman is in a desperate search for her mother. She knows that her mother, 71-year-old Bee Reskin, lived in apartment 109 of the Northridge Meadows apartments. Tragically, that is the apartment section where the third and second floors crumbled onto the first floor and where most of the victims so far have been found.
They said she was in there, but I have to know. I have to find her.
She fears that her mother is one of the 14 people confirmed dead here. The Red Cross says the process of identifying victims will not be a quick one.
And if the people don't sign in at the shelter, then their name can't be on the list. Once we have a list of all the names, that goes downtown, and then our personnel at that time are able to notify either family or answer questions for family.
We don't have enough words to try to explain why these kind of earthquakes occur. But I think God's presence really comes to the fore in the lives of each of us as we extend a hand, a smile, and anything we can to one another to try and be a support to each other.
With the comfort of friends, the woman continues her frantic search. At the same time, search and rescue teams, along with firefighters and police officers, have dogs helping them look for victims. She's following the proper channels, but it's not enough.
But I have to know. I have to find her.
In Northridge, Michelle Holden, Channel 9 News.
Now, one of the most dramatic moments of the entire day, an incredible rescue in the parking lot of the Northridge Mall.
What we have inside is what the federal government has designated as an urban search and rescue team. They are basically trained experts, in this case, all members of the Los Angeles County Fire Department. And what they are doing is they are going floor by floor, apartment by apartment, room by room, through that building with a variety of technology